The CDC has decided to throw its credibility with 50% of the country even farther down the drain by mandating the use by healthcare professionals and scientists across the country of blatantly anti-scientific and anti-factual inclusive language in their latest equity guiding principles for inclusive communications. While the CDC has a new way of saying everything that makes it more mealy-mouthed and less descriptive, the most blatantly unscientific of their new terms are clearly the ones that pertain to gender. The CDC says not to use gendered pronouns like he or she or his or hers, instead telling you to use non-gender binary language such as assigned male or female at birth, effectively instructing the scientific institutions of our country, which look to federal guidance in how to promulgate their own communications, that there are in fact more than two genders, and that gender is something that exists on a spectrum and that is not biologically inherent. And while the CDC has been spending their time coming up with a long list of words to use and not use that sometimes counter scientific fact and definitely counter being concise in the way that you speak, they've not spent time addressing one of the easiest ways to combat COVID-19, which would have been to address obesity as one of the leading ways to die of COVID-19 more than a year ago. 78% of the people who went into the hospital with COVID-19 were obese, according to one study. Yet, where was the public health push from day one to prevent obesity? Because it was clear from the very early onset of COVID-19 that obesity was one of the things that lands you in the hospital and eventually leads you to dying from COVID-19. The latest federal data show that nearly 40% of Americans were obese in 2015 to 2016, and that's up from 34% in 2007 to 2008. The prevalence of severe obesity went up in the same period from 5.7% to 7.7%. So obesity is clearly a problem in America. Obesity is a real public health threat in America. It's linked to chronic diseases including type 2 diabetes, hyperlipidemia, high blood pressure, and cardiovascular disease. Obesity accounts for as much as 18% of the deaths in people aged 40 to 85, according to a 2013 survey. And if you think about what's happened in the year between 2013 and 2021, you know that people have only gotten fatter. And that COVID-19, in fact, did not help this at all. You can recall as well as I can that if you got vaccinated, you would get a free Krispy Kreme donut. And you can't recall the CDC telling you to lose weight because they didn't. There was no big public health push during the coronavirus to lose weight, despite the fact that it would have cut down on cancer and cardiovascular disease, which are two of the biggest killers in America right now. The Krispy Kreme after your vaccine mentality is just the latest example of United States institutions favoring what's convenient over what is true. And that goes hand in hand with the CDC pushing for people to use scientifically baseless terms because they placate people's emotions. If we are to have the institutional healing that we need to have in this country, we need to embrace what is difficult and uncomfortable over what is comfortable, but what is untrue and will harm us in the long run.